Shalom, shalom, peace and blessings to the 12 tribes worldwide. And as always, I want to say, call Haloi Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. That's all praises to the Heavenly Father, the name of His only begotten Son, to the Holy Spirit. I want to give double honors and salutations to the elders and leaders of the nation of Yasharallah that push and teach this truth with truth and sincerity. I also want to say shalom to the 1/3. That great multitude that consists of the men, women, and children that believe wholeheartedly on the scriptures and working out your own salvation with fear and trembling. I want to say shalom to you. I titled this lesson, What Does True Faith Look Like? All right, because lots of people give lip service. All right, we have a problem within this world where Satan has deceived this whole world, and you got people who thinking they're believers who've been deceived by telling you things or teaching, better yet doctrines, that the Lord's law, statutes, commandments, His law in particular, done away with. Okay, of course, we're going to see we are justified and redeemed only by the blood of Yahushua. But we're going to see, okay, the world puts one against another, or they teach it as if, well, you believe Yahushua by faith, and you even attempt to follow the laws, well, you're wrong. Okay, the Bible don't teach that. Okay, the Bible teaches us trying to be justified or self-righteous, working our way into the kingdom by our own righteousness. Okay, that's off because we can't do it. But that still don't mean we shouldn't strive to live holy, separate, and set apart. All right. That's the whole point of this lesson. People twist scriptures and misunderstand Paul's writings and, deceiving and being deceived. Instead of sending more people into destruction by misteaching the Lord's word. So that's what we're going to clear up and look at in this lesson today. All right. So like I say, first thing we're going to establish that true justification is, okay, only through the blood of Yahushua. So let's get some precepts on that first. So let's get Romans 5:9. It says, much more then, being now justified by His blood, we shall be saved from wrath through Him. So this is speaking of the blood of Yahushua. We're justified by His blood alone. All right, let's look at this word justified so we can be clear. So this is justified. Let's see what it gives us. To render righteous, or such he ought to be, to show, exhibit, evince one to be righteous, such as he is and wishes himself to be considered, to declare, pronounce one to be just, righteous, or just as he ought to be. All right. So ultimately what? In order to stand before the Lord and be accepted, we have to be found perfect. We can't be perfect based off our own merit. All we got to do is fail to come up short one time based off the standard of the law. All right. So Yahushua's blood is the perfect sacrifice which made us justified. All right. Let's look at Romans 3. We're going to Romans 3:20. Therefore, by the deeds of the law, there shall no flesh be justified in His sight. For by the law is the knowledge of sin. So like I often teach it, the law is more like a guideline that shows us what offends the Lord, that shows us when we're going off. 21. But now the righteousness of Yahweh without the law is manifested, being witnessed by the law and the prophets, even the righteousness of Yahweh, which is by faith of Yahushua Mashiach unto all them that believe. And there is no difference, for all have sinned and come short of the glory of Yahweh. So based off the standard of the law alone, we would all come up short. We all fail. If that was the standard for your salvation or your righteousness, we wouldn't make the cut. 24, listen to this, being justified freely by His grace through the redemption that is in Yahushua Mashiach, whom Yahweh has set forth to be appropriation through faith in His blood, to declare His righteousness for the remission of sins that are passed through the forbearance of Yahweh, to declare, I say, that at this time his righteousness, that he might be just, and the justifier of him which believeth in Yahushua. Where is boasting then? Is it excluded? By what law? Of works? No. Or nay, but by the law of faith. See, so none of us can boast or brag based off the works or the keeping of the law, because we would come up short. Okay, so when we gonna see the righteous or the elect would strive, would have a certain thing we live by, okay, the Torah, or attempt to the best of our ability to be obedient or follow the laws of the Lord. Okay, well, we're not doing that believing or thinking, oh, we're going to be justified or saved because we keep the law. No. Okay, two different things we're going to look at. We just establishing the fact that ultimately our justification is going to come alone from Yahushua. Yahushua, faith through his blood alone. 27, where is boasting then? Is it excluded by what law? Of works? Nay, but the law of faith. Now listen to 28. Therefore we conclude that a man is justified by faith without the deeds of the law. All right, so that's plain. Let me get one more. It's building this foundation. This is Ephesians 2:5. And 2 and 8, I believe. It says, for by grace ye are saved through faith, and that is not of yourselves. It is the gift of Yahweh, not of works, lest any man should boast. See that? So it is clear. We're going to be saved through faith in the blood of Yahushua alone. It's not off of our own works of merits. We're going to make it. All right. In fact, a little more. Let me go to James 2:10. It says, for whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend at one point is guilty of all. See, so you could strive, which we should try to strive to keep the law to the best of our ability. But understand, if you fail one time at one point, okay, just one law, whatever you break, well, guess what? That's not a perfect, you're not perfect. Okay, so the standard of the law is no way we could keep that to perfection. There's only one who done that. That was Yahushua. Therefore, what he claiming us through his blood makes us perfect. That's the redemption. See, you keep all whatever, 613 laws, whatever, you come up short on one. Say you keep 612, come up short on the 13th, 613. Well, guess what? You fall short based off the standard being redemption by the law. So that's impossible for us to be found perfect according to the law. All right. Now, however, this is what you got to understand. Having said that, it's still not like the world or the Christian church teaches or believe. Well, even though it's true, we're not perfect by the law, but in their mind, what? It's none and void. Okay. It's done away with. Yahushua came to take that away. You don't worry about it. Okay. That is a lie from the pits of hell. Okay, because what we're going to see in the eyes of the Lord, if you claim to truly have faith, okay, and you live your life as a transgressor, we're going to see what transgression is. All right, then that makes you a hypocrite in the eyes of the Lord. All right, the Lord said you're going to know them by their fruit. So even though we understand, this is why I went to all these precepts. No, none of us can be perfect in the law. But at the same time, we're going to see the Lord called us to live holy, set-apart lifestyles that's striving to walk through the Spirit at all times, in which that Spirit is going to guide you what? To everything within the Lord's word. It's not going to guide you the opposite of his word or his law. Okay, the opposite of the Spirit would be the flesh. Okay, it's only two. You either striving after the Spirit or you living after your own fleshly, worldly desires. See, so from here, let's look at, let's stay in James, actually. That's a good place. James, and let's look at 15, okay? Because James going to give some good examples right here. It says, if a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say unto them, depart in peace, be ye warm filled, notwithstanding you give them those things which are needful to the body, what doeth it profit? Even so, faith, if it had not works, is dead being alone. Yea, a man may say, thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show you thee my faith by my works. And that's the whole point. Okay, your true faith or belief or worship is going to be backed by righteous living, righteous works. You can't claim you believe, which we all should believe, but your lifestyle is after the flesh. See, look at verse 19. Thou believest that there is one God, thou do as well. The devils also believe and tremble. But wilt thou, O vain man, that faith without works is dead? Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he offered up Isaac his son upon the altar? Seeing thou how faith wrought his works, and by works faith was made perfect. So they're going to support one another is what it's saying. The evidence of you having true faith in the Lord is going to be what? You following after the Spirit, which means righteous living, which still comes back to living according to Torah, his word. All right. Let's see. Let's get the example. Matter of fact, let's go to Genesis 22:1, because it mentioned Abraham. Abraham proved he had true faith to the Lord by doing something. True faith is going to be back with action. It says, my brother, have not faith in our Lord Yahushua Mashiach, the Lord of glory. Hold on, let me see something. Okay, yeah, verse 2 is what I want. It says, and he said, take now thy son, thy only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him therefore a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. So the Most High is telling Abraham, hey, I want you to offer up your son Isaac as a sacrifice. Now look at verse 10. And Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of the heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, here I am. And he said, lay not thy hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest Yahweh, seeing that thou hast not withheld thy son, thy only son, from me. So the Lord tested Abraham. He proved his faith by saying, hey, I want you to do something. You truly you truly follow me, you serve me. He said, hey, go sacrifice your son. Abraham was just about to do it. He raised his hand with the knife. Before he came down to slay his son, the angel said, hey, no, don't touch him. And what did the Lord say? Now I know that you fear the Lord. So it's the same way in our lifestyle. Okay, that's what we read in James. Even the devils believe and tremble. Okay, it's one thing to say we truly have faith in Yahushua and what he gave us. It told us we redeemed through his blood. But if that is true, if that faith, if it's true faith, the evidence of that is going to be in our righteous living. See, our fruit. Matthew 7 and let's look at, we'll start at 15. Beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep clothing, but inwardly they are raging wolves. That's the deceit. The sheep's clothing on the outer. You appear to be righteous. You appear to be holy. Appear to come one way, but inside, the heart, the mind, okay, you're wicked. Look at 16. Ye shall know them by their fruit. Do men gather grapes from thorns or figs from thistles? Even so, every good tree beareth good fruit, but a corrupt tree cannot bring forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. But every tree bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Verse 20, wherefore by their fruits you should know them. So fruit goes into what? Your works, your lifestyle. That's how you're going to truly know. So one lifestyle, if they're truly of the Lord, true faith, true love for the Lord is going to be depicted based off of righteous living. Okay, a hypocrite is going to have the right word, lip service, but their lifestyle, their deeds is going to be contrary to the word of the Lord. That's how we know. See, 1 John 4:1. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirit whether they are of Yahweh, because many false prophets are going into the world. So we try the spirit by the spirit. This is the point of this lesson. This is why we're looking at all these different precepts to clearly show you what true faith looks like. Like we just read Matthew, you're going to know them by their fruit. So you try the spirit by comparing it with the spirit, which is the word. See? Job 16:13. It's the other way around. It's 13:16. It says, he also shall be my salvation, for a hypocrite shall not come before him. And what is a hypocrite? Hypocrite is somebody who teaches or says one thing, but they does something opposite. That would be claiming the Lord with lip service. You love the Lord, holy, all these things you hear the world, or people say specifically the Christian church, lip service, but what their lifestyle is the opposite. No way you gonna say you love, you follow the Lord, but you say things like the Lord's law is done away with. Okay, that's foolishness. That's the greatest form of hypocrisy. This is why I started off showing you precepts in the lesson. That's two different things. No, we're not justified based off the merit of the law. No, but at the same time, a true holy person, true person of the spirit is going to strive to be obedient to the Lord's word, his Torah. All right. This is Deuteronomy 4 and 5. That's what separates us from the world. That's what separates us from the other nations. Okay, we will put here what the children of Israel are light unto the world, meaning an example, show forth righteousness, a righteous example based off our lifestyle being separate from everybody else in this world. Verse 5, it says, behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord thy God commanded me, that you should do so in the land where you go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and understanding in the sight of the nations. See that? Which shall hear of all these statutes and say, surely this is a great nation. Surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great, who Yahweh has so nigh to them, as the Lord our God in all these things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great, that has statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day? See? So this is something the Lord gave his people. Say, hey, this is going to separate you, living according to my word, from everybody else. That's what's wrong when you look at the world today. It's completely lawless. That's the sin and things you see running rampant in the world, okay? The Lord gave his people, his children, hey, this is a code, a standard that's going to separate you, make you more righteous or different from the rest of this world. This is Leviticus 20:26. And ye shall be holy unto me, for I the Lord am holy, and have served you from other people. See that? That ye should be mine. Okay, so the Lord say, hey, I've separated you. To separate something is a difference. That's what holy means, by the way. You hear people say, oh, holy, or we should be holy. They even got churches, call themselves holiness church and all of these things. Well, holy, according to the Bible, means separate, set apart. Well, what makes us separate or different from everybody else in this world? Okay, we would have a certain code of ethics, a certain moral standard that we live by. That's why the Lord's law come in. That's the standard to say, hey, we don't do this. The world do this. Why we don't do this? Look, the Lord said it right here in his word. See, we walk, we follow according after the spirit. And again, the spirit is going to lead. The spirit is no different from the Lord's word. Okay, one in itself. The world has tried to do that. The devil's tried to deceive or separate the two or make it like no. Okay, that's foolishness. John 6:63, example. It is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profit nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. All right. So the word is the spirit. We live according or follow after the spirit, which means what? We follow after the Lord's word. See, let's get, let's see. Let's go to Mark 7:7. Let's start at 6. It says, he answered and said unto them, well, had Isaiah prophesied of you hypocrites. Remember, we know what a hypocrite is. Somebody who says one thing, but what their lifestyle, they do another. As it is written, this people honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. How it be in vain they do worship me, teaching the four doctrines, the commandment of men. That's what the world do today. Even the majority of this world who calls themselves believers, or in particular Christians, people consider themselves to be Christians. This is usually why they fall under without even realizing it. Because when you really compare their life to the actual scriptures, you get a lot of lip service. Okay, that you get the whole cliche, blessed and highly favored and all of these things. But when you really look at it and say, okay, these are the same people the majority of the time that you hear pushing those false narratives. Oh, the Lord done away. The Lord's law done away with, is none and void. He nailed it to the cross, not realizing what they're saying. All right. Verse 8. For laying aside the commandments of Yahweh, ye hold the traditions of men, as the washing of pots, cups, and many other such like things you do. And these are the same people that'll tell you, well, no, you can't keep none of the laws of God, or even don't mention a holy day, feast days. Okay, they reject all of that. But these are the same people, what, every December 25th, they got a Christmas tree. They getting ready, what, next month, whatever, to go get Easter eggs and dye them and Easter spirit. All these things of the world, which are considered traditions of men, they keep. They believe the Lord. Now, they claim they saved, believers, Christians, but they keep all the worldly commandments and traditions. But the things that's actually found or written in the book, they're telling you that is done away with. You see the confusion in that? Verse 9. And he said unto them, wherefore will you reject the commandments of Yahweh, see that you may keep your own tradition. See, and when you try to correct our people about it or warn them, what do they say? They go to the book of Tupac. You can't judge me. See, excuse after excuse. Well, when we come into the truth, the Spirit quicken us, wake us up. These are some of the things where we leave behind. The Lord told us what? My people perish for lack of knowledge. One thing the Holy Spirit do, it opens your mind to true knowledge of this word. So we begin to move different when we acquire that knowledge. See, let's look at James 4:17. As we grow through the Spirit, that's the whole point. The Spirit say, this point of the Spirit is to teach us all things, guide us in truth and teach us in all things. Well, when we come across these things, when the Spirit reveal it, we apply it. All right, that's true growth in the Spirit. Not continuing to make excuses and stay in a stagnant place. That's what the world do. That's what we did when we were still in the Christian church or whatever. We would, just use the excuse, hey, all I know is the blood. I believe and leave it at that. Okay, well, yeah, you better believe the blood. But also what? Our lifestyle should be in a reflection to these scriptures. Okay, we should be following and living a life that's conducive to the lifestyle of the Spirit. So what I said, James 4:17. It says, therefore, to him that knoweth to do good and do it not, to him it is sin. See? And through the word, through the scripture, okay, we clean up our understanding, our living. We know how to live right because it's all found in the Lord's word. Again, that's why the law comes back in. That's that guideline to why we are able to correct our way, how we should be living from how we shouldn't be living. For example, if you look at Psalms 119:9. Wherewith shall a young man cleanse his way? By taking heed thereunto according to thy word. See, so we use this word, okay, in the form of Torah. When we say Torah, that's the first 5 books of Moses, along with the prophets. Okay, that's what the world tells you. Don't worry about the Christian church tell you that's done away with. Okay, you just, all you need is a book half filled. You just, long as you understand Matthew to Revelations. Okay, that's foolishness. The Bible doesn't teach that. Okay, Isaiah 8:20. It says, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. Again, the law, first 5 books of Moses and the prophets, that's also considered the law. The testimony, or what? The gospels, as well as the epistles. That will be from Matthew to Revelation. So you need the whole Bible. You need a full understanding. All right. That's what the Bible teaches. Let's look at, let's go to Romans now. Let's go to Romans 3 and 28 around now. So this is Romans 3:28 again. It says, therefore we conclude that a man is justified by faith without the deeds of the law. Okay, we went through that earlier. I broke that down, all the precepts. Yeah, ultimately our justification is going to come from redemption through Yahweh's blood alone. We can't be perfect in the law. Okay, but at the same time, let's look at verse 30. Seeing it is one God, which shall justify the circumcision by faith and the uncircumcision through faith. 31 is the point. Do we then make void the law through faith? God forbid. Yea, we establish the law. See, so even though we are justified by faith alone, that don't make void the Most High's law. And that's what they teach in the world. That's what the Christian church has taught us. Okay, most of us came out of these Christian church. That's what we grew up being taught. See, let's look at this word void in the blue letter. So this word void, it says to render idle, unemployed, inactive, inoperative, to cause a person or thing to have no further efficiency, to deprive of force, influence, power, to cause to cease, put an end to, do away with. What they say, the Lord's law, statutes, commandments, done away with, to be done away, to be severed from, separated from, discarded from, loosened from anyone, to terminate all intercourse with one. All right. So again, that's what we were taught. Or you still have false ministers not understanding what they speak in the teaching who push that narrative. So that's what, let's go back to it. Read it again, verse 31. Do we then make void the law through faith? So does that mean the law done away with, none effect, all of these things because we justified through faith? What does it say? God forbid. Yea, we established the law. And that's what we should do. Not living to try to be a perfect standard, keeping the law to try to be justified, because we clearly see that through the scriptures. We can't be redeemed or justified by the keeping of the law. But at the same time, no, what it say? We establish the law. We teach our people who we are. And we teach our people, hey, this is how the Lord told us to walk. This is what he told us to live. This is the code of ethics, a moral standard that he gave us that separates us from everybody else or every other people on this earth. See, that's the difference between Israelites and what niggas, when we wake up our mind and when the spirit quickens our mind and we begin to follow after the spirit. See, Proverbs 12:26. And then we're going to look at what Yahweh himself had to say about it. It says, the righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but by the way of the wicked seduceth them. So what does it mean the righteous is more excellent than his neighbor? Why would the righteous be more excellent? Because the righteous is following after the Spirit. The righteous, even though not perfect based off their own merit, all right, but the righteous is at least going to have a code of ethic, a biblical moral standard that they strive by, opposed to the neighbor, which is the world, that just go according what or serve their flesh. See? Matthew 5:17. Let's hear it from the Lord's mouth itself. This is Yahushua speaking. He says, think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. See, and the same thing, they just slaughtered it. They messed this all up and confused it. All right. What does it mean when the Lord say, I've come not to destroy the law of the prophets? I've come not to destroy, but to fulfill. He fulfilled the things in the law and the prophets that was written of him. All right. Being what? That perfect sacrifice, number one. In the old covenant or Old Testament, what were they doing to be found righteous? That was the works of the law. That was before Yahushua came. So what? Sacrificing. Okay, all different type of animal blood. Okay, it broke one command. Certain commandments was unto death. They messed up one time, depending on what it was, what had to be put to death. Okay, well, all of that was pushing and pointing towards that one true ultimate sacrifice that would make us perfect, which is what? The blood of Yahushua. So our perfection is already come through Yahushua. But along with that perfection, see, the world is deceived, or the Satan through the world, what? Deceive. Well, see, everything else is gone. All right. Well, if everything else is gone, well, there's no code, no standard. That means there's no sin. See? So again, that's foolishness. So let's look at what Yahushua meant when he say, I come not to destroy the law of the prophets. I come not to destroy it, but to fulfill. All right. For example, let's look at Revelations 19:10. Let me get a few precepts. And I fell at his feet to worship him, and he said unto me, See thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant and thy brethren, and I have the testimony of Yahushua. Worship Yahweh. Now listen to this. It says, for the testimony of Yahushua is the spirit of prophecy. So if you was to get rid of the law, you would be getting rid of Yahushua, because Yahushua was what's first found in the law. Okay, so examples of this, Isaiah 7:14. Just gonna get a few examples. Therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Now this is the prophet Isaiah that's prophesying of Yahushua, the one to come. Okay, thousands of years before, we read in the prophet Isaiah, who's prophesying about the coming of the Lord Yahushua, or his birth. Isaiah 6:9. All this we're reading is examples when Yahushua said, I come not to destroy but fulfill. Now what we just read, a virgin shall conceive and bring forth the child and call his name Emmanuel, was that fulfilled? Yes, that was fulfilled. Yahushua was born into the world. He came to fulfill his purpose. This is another example. Isaiah 6:9, and he said, go and tell this people, hear you indeed, but understand not, and see you indeed. No, that's not what I want. Let me see. I think it's 9 and 6. Yeah. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. And of his increase, and of the increase of his government and peace, there shall be no end. Upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. Now, who is this prophesying of? This is Isaiah once again that's prophesying of Yahushua. See, talks about she should be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father. Then the increase of his government. That's prophesying about the kingdom, the millennial reign. All right. Let's look at another example. I think it's Isaiah 59:20. And the Redeemer shall come to Zion, and unto them that turn from transgression into Jacob, said the Lord. Who is this Redeemer that's going to come from Zion? Who is Isaiah prophesying about? This is Yahweh Shah. Okay, in the law, in the prophets, this is Isaiah still speaking or prophesying about Yahweh Shah. So you ask yourself, did Yahweh Shah fulfill this? Did he come to turn wickedness, ungodliness from Jacob? Yes. Isaiah 53 now. Let's look at verse 3. And he is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows, acquainted with griefs. And he hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he had bore our griefs and carried our sorrows. Yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of Yahweh, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgression, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. Again, who is this speaking of? This is prophesying about our Lord Yahweh Shah. Did he fulfill this? Yes. Okay, he had to die for the sins of our nation. He was beat, he was bruised. See? Let me get one more. Get Psalms 22. Let's see. I have to find a nothing. I thought it was 22. Let me see. Well, you can find it here too. Let's see. I'll tell you what, let me look this up real quick.
The phrase, "they pierced my hands," comes from Psalm chapter 22, verse 16, which says they...
Okay, I was right there. It's the 16th verse. For dogs have compassed me, talking about the other nations, the Romans, when they crucified Yahushua. The assembly of the wicked enclosed me. They pierced my hands and my feet. See that? Who did that happen to? Whose hands and pierced was feet? Whose hands and feet got pierced? That's Yahushua on the cross. So this is David prophesying of Yahushua. I may tell all my bones, they look, stare upon me. They part my garments among them. They cast lots upon my vestures. Okay, so clearly this is David prophesying of Yahushua. All right, so when we go back to Matthew 5:17, think not that I've come to destroy the law of the prophets. I'm not come to destroy, but to fulfill. All of those was examples. All of those precepts we just read in the prophets, those was examples of what Yahushua came to fulfill. That's what he was speaking of. All right, let me get one more. It said in the law and the prophets. You can find Yahushua right here in the law. Moses spoke of him right here. Deuteronomy 18:18. It says, I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren like unto thee. And I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require of him. Now, who is Moses prophesying about right here? He's prophesying of Yahushua. So when Yahushua say, I didn't come to destroy the law of the prophets, but I come to fulfill, didn't he fulfill this when we read? When 18, when it say, I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren like unto thee, he's going to be a similitude of Moses. Just like Moses came, the Lord raised up Moses to deliver the children of Israel out of Egypt from Pharaoh. Well, guess what? The Lord said, one like unto thee, the ultimate deliverer, which would be Yahweh Shah, would come to what? Redeem or deliver his people from sin. See? That's what Yahweh Shah, that's what it means. I didn't come to destroy the law of the prophets. I didn't come to destroy, but to fulfill. Did he not do that? So he fulfilled that. See? The world is taught of Satan, like I say, Satan that's deceived the world or what? Oh, that's, he done away. Wow. So now if you even striving to try to, you got people who will try to condemn or point the fingers and see, you keeping the law. Oh, that means you don't believe the Lord. You strive, they just mess the Bible all up. See? And that's why you have some people that everybody not meant to be touching the Bible, teaching the Bible. All right? The Lord gave that spirit to certain men that he set up to do that. Because all you do when you do, anybody just pick up a Bible, start spewing of foolishness and crap, not only are they going to be destroyed, but what? They're leading other people to destruction. See? Let's go back to this now. So one more time, think not, verse 17, think not that I've come to destroy the law of the prophets. I've not come to destroy, but to fulfill. Verse 18, for verily I say unto you, to heaven and earth shall pass. One jot nor one tittle shall not in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. Whosoever therefore shall break one of the least of these commandments and shall teach men so. See, just like the hypocrites, false teachers, and pastors who preach that, think they really doing something or saying something. No, the Lord didn't come. He didn't say what the Lord none and void. Now you just you live the way you want. You ain't got to acknowledge or worry about no commandments of the law. No, the Lord he's clarifying it right here. This is Yahweh Shah speaking. He say, whoever breaks the least or teach other people to break them, what? You're going to be held accountable. Verse 19 again, whosoever therefore shall break one of the least of these commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I say unto you, except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees, you shall in no wise enter into the kingdom of heaven. Okay, because the scribes and the Pharisees now, they had it wrong on the other end. Just like you got certain Hebrew camps who they try to lead with the law. Law. No, you're not teachers if you justified by the law. All right. The Pharisees and Sadducees back then, what? They were all the law, but they rejected Yahweh Shah. All of, the ultimate redemption or the sacrificial lamb justified by the blood. They couldn't receive none of that. See? So it's like the world has always been on one side of the spectrum or the other, not fully understanding. No, yeah, our justification ultimately the blood of Yahweh Shah, but our lifestyle still has to be conducive or reflection to the Lord's word. Okay, that's gonna come in the form of being obedient, okay, to the Lord's word, his commandments, his laws, statutes, and commandments. Let's see. Let's look at, let's go to 1 Peter 2:16. It says, as free, but not using your liberty as a cloak of maliciousness, but as servants of Yahweh. Okay, so yeah, we are free from the bondage of the law. Again, we don't work or try to keep the law thinking, oh, we gonna save ourselves because we keep, no, you fooling yourself. Okay, if you look at the old covenant, under the Old Testament, being under the yoke of the law, that was hard. That was a burden. Okay, because like we read in James, you offended one point, one commandment, one point, what? You fall short of them all. So we could never be perfect from the keeping of the law. So yeah, through Yahweh Shah, we have that freedom, that liberty. He freed us from the yoke of the law, meaning what? We're not bound to that standard of the law, which was perfection. Gotta be perfect by the law. No, that was hard. That was a burden. Okay, this is what we're reading about here. We now have liberty through Yahweh Shah, but look at what it's saying. And use your liberty, let me read again, as free, and not using your liberty for a cloak of maliciousness, but as servants of Yahweh. So you don't take that liberty as an excuse to follow after your flesh. You don't use that liberty as an excuse like you hear people, oh, the Lord's law done away with. Don't worry, it's none and void. Don't worry. No, now you deceiving yourself. See? Galatians 5:13. For brethren, ye have been called into liberty. See that? Only use not your liberty for an occasion to the flesh, but by love serve one another. For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. See that? So yeah, we called into liberty. We free from that yoke of bondage, being burdened under the law. Like once again, you got certain Israelites, one camp in particular, that's all they law. People don't know nothing about the Most High. You on the street, you just trying to condemn them based off the law. The law, you shouldn't be wearing this or doing it. No, you don't do that. All right, you don't do that. The Spirit, let the Spirit touch our people. You preach Yahweh Shah. Okay, you know this is what the Lord done for our nation, redeemed us back. Then if the Spirit really dealing with them, they're eventually going to be compelled as they learn and grow. Okay, the Spirit is going to guide them towards the Torah. All right, the Spirit is going to compel them to live a certain way according or strive or whatever to the best of their ability to be obedient to the Lord's laws, statutes, and commandments. All right, but you know you don't lead with that. So again, it says, brethren, you have been called into liberty. Only use not your liberty as an occasion to the flesh, but by love serve one another. For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. And what does it mean the law is fulfilled in this? Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Because if you're truly loving your neighbor, you're not going to transgress against your neighbor. Okay, like Yahweh Shah said, Matthew 7:12. Okay, doing to others if you have others doing to you. Okay, the same thing. He said the two most important commandments, love the Lord thy God with all thy mind. And the second is like unto it, love thy neighbor as thyself. Well, same thing. You love the Lord with all your heart, soul, and mind. You're not going to intentionally transgress against the Most High. Same concept. Your brother, you're not going to intentionally sin against your brother. Another good example is in how Paul put it in Romans 13:8, for example. It says, owe no man anything but to love one another. For he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. See that? Because I've heard that before too. You got people confused with, no. The Lord, is just two. You love the Lord, then love your neighbor as yourself. See, all the law, you do that, you fulfilling the whole law. Okay, yeah, but what does that mean? This is finna give you an example right here. Verse 9. For this, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet. And if there be any other commandment that is briefly comprehended in this, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, love working no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law. Now, everything we just read right here is contained in the law. So if you truly loving your neighbor, you see that you're not going to be transgressing or breaking the law against your brother is what it's saying. You're not going to be committing adultery with his wife. You're not going to be sleeping with your brother's wife. You're not going to be stealing from your brother. Okay. You're not going to murder your brother. Okay, which is all contained in the law. So that's what it means. You focus on, truly loving your neighbor as yourself. Don't violate or do nothing against your brother that you won't want your brother doing to you. Then guess what? Yeah, you will be keeping the law. You good right there. Same thing with the Lord. If you truly loving the Lord thy God with all that heart, mind, and soul, well, how did the Lord tell you to love him? Number one, of course, you got to have that faith. But that faith, you going to be following after the Spirit. And that Spirit, ain't going to do nothing to have you transgressing the Lord's law or following after your flesh. It's that simple. See that? Another example. Let's see. Let's look at 1 John 3 and 8. Well, let's get 18 first. 1 John 3:18. It says, little children, let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth. See, that's lip service. That's, remember, Isaiah prophesied about you hypocrites. So with that mouth, they show me much honor and praise. That's loving the Lord, and you say this and you say that. But again, we keep seeing deed. By you shall know them what? By their fruits. So this is the same thing right here. Okay, true love, true faith is still action. Okay, your lifestyle, your fruit, your works, your life is you're gonna live your life according to the spirit, not the flesh. Okay, so it still comes back down to what? Your works should reflect your faith, and vice versa. You truly have faith like that, it's gonna be proven back by what? Your lifestyle, with your righteous living. Not saying your lifestyle or righteous living, you're not living for perfection or striving to what? Because I do this, because I do that, because I keep the law, what? I'm justified. I'm gonna make no. You fell short, because that if your standard of perfection can't come from the Lord's law. That's the blood of Yahushua. But at the same time, yeah, we should live holy to the best of our ability. All right. Now I want to get look at verse 8. I start at 7. It says, little children, let no man deceive you. He that doeth righteous is righteous, even as he is righteous. He that committed sin is of the devil, for the devil sinned from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of Yahweh was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. Whosoever is born of Yahweh do not commit sin, for his seed remaineth in him, and he cannot sin because he is born of Yahweh. Now look at verse 10. It says, and this the children of Yahweh manifested, and the children of the devil. Whoso doeth not righteousness is not of Yahweh, neither he that loveth not his brother. Okay, so notice it keeps showing you the separation. He that doeth righteous is of the Lord. Okay, he that have you doing righteousness is what? You following after the spirit. You striving to be holy, striving to keep the Lord's laws and commandments to the best of your ability. Opposed to what? He that is of the devil, he does wickedness. He does the opposite. He serves his flesh. All right. 1 John 3 and 4. It says, whosoever committed sin transgresseth also the law. For sin is the transgression of the law. All right. So it's very simple. If people could be considered sinners, which is we are, this whole world is full of sin. The majority of people, they practice sin, follow sin, live for sin, live for the flesh. Okay, well, if the law was done away with, then it's impossible for anybody to be considered a sinner. See, we're just showing you, going through this, show you the hypocrisy of this world. All right. Romans 5:12. Wherefore by one man is sin entered into the world, and death by sin, and so passed upon all men, for that all have sinned. Now pay attention to 13. It says, for until the law, sin was in the world, but sin is not imputed when there is no law. See that? If the Lord's law was completely done away with, there would be no sin. See? I had a video I want to play for this lesson too before I get out of here. Play this.
Okay, y'all y'all, so this is going to be a very short video. I was watching this Hebrew Israelite and Christian debate. And I'm going to say this. I need y'all to pick up your own Bibles and study this to show yourselves approved, man. Like, when I tell y'all that pastor did not know anything, he asked in the Hebrew Israelite, oh, what do that mean? How don't you know you've been a pastor for 10 plus years? That's because y'all studied the same 5 to 6 fucking scriptures and y'all keep it moving. Y'all pass that basket around 1,000 times. Anyway, I hate that a lot of, like, Christians and Catholic, whatever y'all want to call yourselves, y'all believe that the laws are done away with. So if the laws are done away with, sin is done away with. Do y'all know what sin is? Sin is transgression of the law, which means that the laws are not done away with. Matthew, I'm going to say, was 5 and 17 states that, think not that I came to destroy the laws, but to fulfill them. Anyway, please do not leave your whatever y'all believe in the hands of these pastors, because they will drive y'all straight to hell. And I'm going to say that, no offense, but offense, because I'm not about to sugarcoat shit for y'all. Our lifestyle is offensive to the Most High, how we live.
Real quick, when she say they'll drag you straight to hell, all right, let's get Matthew 15:14. Let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind lead the blind, shall both fall in a ditch. And that's exactly what's happening. Okay, you can't listen to these bumbling idiots out here that just thinking that, like I said, or like everybody is not meant to be trying to teach no Bible, because this is exactly what's happening. They're destroying themselves and gonna get whoever's dumb, silly enough to follow them destroyed with them. 1 Timothy 1:7. It says, desiring to be teachers of the law, understanding neither what they say nor whereof they affirm. All right? People picking up Bibles, trying to teach, have no idea what the hell they talking about, is what this is warning you of. 2 Peter 3:16. It says also in all his epistles, speaking of those things, which are some things hard to be understood, which they that are unlearned and unstable wrest, as they do also other scriptures, into their own destruction. So this is Peter talking about Paul's writings. Okay, Paul's right, a great teacher, but the way he wrote sometimes, what he's warning you is hard to be understood. If you take an average person, for example, a Christian, to try to read Paul's writings, they're going to twist it. They're going to mess it up to their own destruction. And this is what you have over the world. You look at the Christian church, for example, or like she's saying in the video, the Christian pastor probably old, 60, 70 years old his whole life, but don't know nothing because what? He's been twisting. Not intentionally, they just don't have it. See? Don't have it, but you confusing other people too. Now we're in the last days where people really starting to listen, and they getting it now. They realizing, hey, these people don't know a damn thing. See? But notice it says, I'm in the end of 16, as they do also other scriptures unto their own destruction. Ye therefore, beloved, seeing that you know these things before, beware, lest ye also being led astray with the error of the wicked, fall from your own steadfastness. All right? Be aware. You idiot, you dumb enough to follow these people that telling you, feed you this foolishness. Oh, the Lord's law done away with. Don't worry about it. Okay. See how that play out for you in the end. What else? I'm thinking of one more. I'll go back to the video.
Girls love. Okay, y'all, so this is gonna be a very whatever y'all believe in the hands of these pastors, because they will drag y'all straight to hell. And I'm gonna say that, no offense, but offense, Because I'm not about to sugarcoat shit for y'all. Our lifestyle is offensive to the Most High. How we live is offensive to the Most High. Thinking that the Sabbath is on Sunday is offensive to the Most High. Y'all gotta understand that the world hasn't been given into the hands of the wicked. Majority of what we do on this earth is wicked as fuck. We gotta get right. Please do not, like, I'm gonna say this. Please don't think that, I'm about to go to church on Sunday, then that's gonna wash me away. I gotta accept Christ as my Lord and Savior, and I'll be good. No, you won't. No, you won't. Study, come back to the laws. That's what we need to do. Bottom line, y'all, like, get the fuck out that damn church. Them damn pastors.
Okay, yeah, and which everything she's saying is right, but again, this is why I did this whole lesson. Okay, it's deeper. You have to have a glass, a full glass, not a glass half full. Okay, yeah, you can't be a hypocrite just so, okay, but number one, the God or the Jesus that they didn't taught the world is an idol anyway. So you got Christians running around really thinking they saved this or that. They reject the true message of the truth and they hold fast to that so-called Jesus that they grew up being taught. Okay, so they missed them both to begin with. Okay, but for us who are Israel, understand that. Don't get deceived by also some of these Israelite camps that all they do law, as if the law is your standard for perfection or your redemption, or you're going to be justified by the law. Okay, because they off. That's a lie. Okay, remember, with all this precepts we done through this whole lesson, clearly justified by Yahweh, the elect, or justified by the blood of Yahweh Shah. But the elect what? Also is going to have the spirit to follow after the spirit. They're going to strive to walk according to the Lord's law, statutes, and commandments. All right. And let me get a couple more precepts. I'm going to go ahead and close this one out.
Oh, no shit.
Actually, here, I got one more video. Let me play this real quick.
Do you ever wonder why the satanic elites of this world don't just burn all the churches? Because they don't need to. As long as you don't keep Torah, the elites of this world will let you play religion. I'll give you an example. What would happen to the economy if on the Sabbath nobody spent $1? It would collapse the economy. They know this, and they even use Torah to dictate their banking systems. Your church tells you that you can work on Saturdays, but the U.S. stock market closes their stocks on Saturdays. Also, the Torah says to write off your neighbor's debts after 7 years, or else a curse will come upon you. They do that too. See, the people running this world, they know the law of the Most High, which is why they let people play religion. When you begin to keep Torah, you come out of the matrix. Not just the economic one, but the religious one. And if you're thinking to yourself, well, the Jewish elites that run this world keep Torah too via Judaism. No, they don't. They cannot have Torah without Yahusha, and you can't have Yahusha without Torah. Being in the deliverance ministry for as long as I was...
So you see that Satan intentionally deceived the world. You know, the true power is in the Lord's people returning to a lifestyle that the way the Lord told us to live by. See? Long as you go, like they gave the world a idol religion, idol Christ, idol gospel, taught it the wrong way and all of this, there's no power in that. See, but when the Lord truly awakens us and we have that faith backed by the way the Lord told us, let's return to his Torah. Okay, now that's power. That was 2 Chronicles 7:14 was talking about. My people which are called by my name will turn from their wicked ways. Then I'll hear from heaven and heal the land. Roughly paraphrasing. See, this is what the world fears. Play a little bit more of this.
A stranger to spiritual warfare. The more I started keeping biblical commandments, the less spiritual warfare I had. Go figure. It turns out I didn't have to start praying in tongues and rebuking the devil when I found out that my Heavenly Father was the one allowing him to attack me in the first place. Every prophet of the Bible, every disciple, including Yahushua HaMashiach, the Son of God himself, kept Torah. Torah is the first 5 books of the prophets, also the instructions that the prophets wrote, also every word that came out of the mouth of Yahusha. Yahusha is Torah. But people have been programmed to think that Yahusha was against Torah or he was lawless, which inevitably makes you never realize or get to know who Yahusha really was.
Yep.
Because you reject his very essence. If people kept Torah, the matrix would break. New York City would not tolerate that big Statue of Liberty, that idol in their city. The billions of dollars that are tithed to churches would be used to feed the poor. People would truly love their neighbor and not covet them. We'd be a people with one mind, one accord. So people can hate Torah all they want, but understand that they're just playing religion like the Pharisees did. Because when Yahusha changes you, he makes you lawful, not lawless. And the elites, they love you because you look righteous enough to confuse people who don't know scripture, but you're just as controllable as...
Right on. All right, a few more precepts. We're going to close this out. This is Revelations 14:22. 14:12, I believe. It says, here are the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yahweh and the faith of Yahweh Shah. See that? Revelations 22:14. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life and may enter through the gates of the city. Talking about the kingdom. For without are the dogs and the sorcerers and the whoremongers and the murderers and the idolaters and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie. Those that what? Transgress, sin against the law. What is sin? Transgression of the law. Let's see. Paul, before we go. Okay, because Christians love to confuse Paul. Let's look. They was accusing Paul of heresy at one point. He was on trial because they was accusing him. Remember, Peter said Paul's writings are hard to be understood. So Paul was never saying the Lord's law is done away with. He was just letting them know, hey, redemption through the blood of Yahweh Shah. That's our salvation. That's our redemption. He never said the Lord's laws are void. But yet he was being accused of that by the Pharisees and Sadducees. So what? Paul clarified it right here. Acts 24:14, he says, but this I confess unto thee, after the way of which they call heresy. So worship I the God of my fathers, believing all things which are written in the law and in the prophets. See that? So Paul is clarifying that stance. Hey, I didn't teach against the law that is done away. He said, no, I believe all things that's in the law and the prophets. See? So, I could go on and on, but I think the point has been made. So I'm going to close it out right there. But yeah, don't let these deceivers or snakes, once again, people who never was meant to be holding or trying to teach a Bible deceive you. Okay, the world is deceived. The Bible talks about that. Satan deceived the whole world. All right, don't be deceived on either side. Okay, because there's two sides of the spectrum. Okay, or you got camps, once again, Israelites, Hebrews who lead with the law, trying to make you got to work your way to salvation, or you keeping the laws was going to redeem you. Okay, they lying to you. And the Christians are like the world. Most Christians teach, okay, well, it's just a faith alone. You just believe in, you don't even, the law done away with. You don't even attempt to try to follow the Lord's laws. Okay, they lying to you. All right, so that's what the point of this lesson, so we don't miss the mark or be confused. Okay, redemption ultimately through the blood of Yahweh Shah, but the true believers, his elect, is going to follow after the Spirit. That's going to take you right back to walking according to Torah, the Lord's laws, to the best of your ability. So I pray that this lesson was edifying. Until the next time, shalom, we out.